rarely a guest around here. Ozzy, oi oi to you, man. Thanks for coming on in. And scrolling on down. Aaron, good to see you. Jello, nice to have you back. The lovely Jenny. Drake C, thanks for coming on in, guys. And $5,900. Christopher Morales, good to have you guys here. Hi, John Poe. Greetings from Tralfamador. Thank you for joining us. And Super Quest, how you doing, Roy? Hope you're having a safe night at work. Adam Lakatos, welcome to our channel. I see you are Chad Smith, too. Hi, Gorgeous Jan. Welcome back. And Uncle Dale and his Power Stash are here. Remember, if you're in Austin, Texas, rub Uncle Dale's Power Stash for 14 days of good luck. You will get it. Project Blue Book, YJ, Noble Patrick, Glenn John McEnroe, and Gorgeous Renee. Good to see you. Hi, Science Bob. Hi, Spookles, the lovely cat. You're awesome, by the way, Spookles. You know what I'm talking about. Gorgeous Heidi, how are you? Thanks for coming on in. And Sweet Donnie D, Bev from Aliens Visit here. Welcome. Tammy Jackson, looking lovely tonight. And I'm going to run out of time because we're going to get going here momentarily as we got a great show for you. Cedric and Little Marky Spender are here. Yes, Little Marky Spender. Hi, Baxter. Lazarus, good to see you. Paper Wasp Graphics, nice to have you here. We're going to shut this down. Let's get the show going right now, everyone. Rock and roll. Horns up. Mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world. This, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do Old Navy the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. Tonight, it is another edition of Science Bob and Friends, where we bring in Dr. Bob McGwier, formerly of Virginia Tech University, and every alphabet agency under the sun, as we get ready for a great night. Mark Sims is here with us. He's got a great conference coming up called Making Contact. Go to their website, makingcontact.com. You can use promo code DaveSaved100, DaveSave100, and I'm telling you, you're going to get one hell of a deal for one hell of a conference there. And I will put the website up on our YouTube channel and the promo code as well. I'll be reminding you of it all night long. But this is a power show. This is a great show. Now, many of you will recognize we had Mark on just a few weeks ago talking about his incredible extraterrestrial experiences. But tonight it's all different. It's all about trying to make contact. What do we got to do to bring in them aliens? Science Bob, good to have you back.
Oh, Dave, is happy to be here with you and Mark. It's I look forward to the second Wednesday of every month so we can have some woo and have some fun.
Well, we don't get much woo with you because you wear that science badge pretty tightly.
Well, I've experienced a little woo, as you know, but I do like to hold the science badge pretty close.
Definitely. And why don't you take the time, Bob, to introduce Mark?
Okay, Mark Sims has exploded onto our community after having a long and very successful business career. And so, Mark, look, a lot of people don't know a lot of that backstory, but given that we attract a lot of science and business and kind of tech people, please tell us about growing up in Michigan and starting Netrex.
Yeah, my first company was Netrex, and I started that in 1992 after working for Sun Microsystems from 1986 until 92. Before that, I was living and I was raised in Michigan in the Midwest. I went to college and got a degree in computer-aided design from Eastern Michigan University. and then went on to go to Harvard Business School, and I'm alumni from the business school, and then started my first company, Netrex, in 1992. And that was an internet security company back in the time when the internet was just becoming a commercial platform for data communication. So I really was lucky to be in the right place at the right time. And one of the unique things that I happened to be skilled in was helping businesses connect to the internet securely before there were commercial firewalls. And so in Detroit, Michigan, where I was working at the time, all these automotive industry tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3 companies that do business with each other and exchange large CAD files between each other saw the internet as a way to quickly and easily send large files between each other. And also email was another real compelling application that they wanted. So email and file transfer were the two compelling applications for the early internet. This is before the web and before other things that we have today. So I would help companies connect their engineering networks initially, and then their entire business networks, computer networks that is, to the internet securely using public domain software that I knew how to compile and configure. And then when the first internet security products started showing up, and this was around 1994, I became a reseller of those software programs, and I transitioned all these clients I had into firewall products. And so I could upsell and then remotely manage the software and their firewall products from my office. And this evolved over the years into a full-time 7x24 security operations center that we operated from our headquarters. And we went international with that. We had a lot of large clients, and we developed really the first managed security service offering in the world. So this was a plethora or a family of different managed security services like firewall management, intrusion detection, enterprise-wide virus detection, and antivirus servers for email, web filtering services, and much more. So that we did under the product name or umbrella called ePatrol. And that made us a target for being acquired, which we were in 1999. And then I retired, and then I started a second company called Nanorex in 2004, which was a software company where we designed a CAD system for nanoscale design for nanomachines, nanobots. That was the idea. So those are my first two companies, and I ended up being very fortunate to be in the right place at the right time before the .com bubble burst, and that allowed me to fund the startup of Netrex, or Nanorex rather. The second company was Nanorex.
That's terrific. So just as an aside, I retired after doing two companies, Hawkeye 360 and Federated Wireless, but just about every day of the week, I work with John Gilmore on ARDC, which is a foundation, and we give grants. And of course, John was one of the founders of Sun Microsystems. I don't know if you knew him.
I read it, John, for sure. I did.
Oh yeah. But the big deal is he founded the Electronic Frontier Foundation. So EFF, of course, is all about internet privacy. Right. Maintaining your privacy, keep the government out of your knickers, and so John and I work together a lot. And so I so it's kind of funny. You meet somebody new, and you're in a company in high tech, and you find their little fingers that overlap your lives, no matter if you knew the person before or not. But yeah, I knew a bunch of people at Sun, and I had every kind of Sun workstation you could have for about 10 years. And then moved on to Linux when Linux took over. And then I had Cray Unix systems at work in big time. So it's just kind of funny, these things overlapping. So Tell us, to give our audience just a few more minutes. You've already been on, but please give them a few more minutes on how you became an experiencer.
Well, after my second business, I retired a second time, and I took up ballroom dancing as a hobby, believe it or not. My wife and I were empty nesters. Our daughter had gone off to college, and we decided to take up ballroom dancing together, and we fell in love with it and threw ourselves into it. And we were so happy and excited and obsessed, really, that we became competitive dancers, amateur competitive dancers. And so we were introduced to competitive ballroom dancing in around 2009. And our first competition was in Las Vegas, which was a really great place to have our first experience. And we both did really well. And that just took off. And for the next 3 years, I danced. That's what I did. I really set a goal for myself to become a champion, which I did in 2011. So this was 3 years into it, 2009, 2010, and then at the end of 2011, I won my major dance sport championship, my first one. And after dancing for a while, I was kind of bored and took a little break from it and started watching YouTube videos in the office of my home. And I came across the Disclosure Project, which was this event that took place in Washington, D.C., all the way back in 2001. And of course, you know very well, but I had no clue about this event back then, that this guy named Dr. Stephen Greer, who was a civilian, somehow managed 20 witnesses to gather in Washington, D.C. at the Washington Press Club and get in front of news cameras and tell their personal accounts of having either seen UFOs or having encountered ETs themselves while they were active in the military or working in other government agencies like NASA and the FAA. And after watching that 2.5 hour long video, I found their testimony so compelling and these witnesses so articulate and trustworthy that I realized that if what they were saying was true, this was undoubtedly the biggest story in human history, and I wanted to know more about it. I knew nothing about the UFO phenomenon other than what you had seen in popular culture in the movies like E.T., the Extraterrestrial, and Close Encounters of the Third Kind before that. And I was a big Star Trek fan and a Star Wars fan as a kid, so, I had that kind of association with the phenomenon, but it was more tangential and really nothing that I knew very deeply about the history of it, the rich history. And so I started looking into it more, and I was really convinced that there was quite a bit of material out there. And one of the people that I started reading was Stephen Greer, the guy who had organized the Disclosure Project. So I bought his 3 books, read them, and learned through these books that there he is. There's Danny.
Finally did it, you guys.
Yeah. Well, Danny has had a big day today. This is a guy who is never staying still, never sitting still. And we're just so lucky to have you, Danny. Thanks for coming. And I'll let you. I'm going to continue sharing my screen, and then we'll let you chime in. So I got these 3 books. I read them. Through the 3 books, among other things, I learned that Greer had organized these events that he did at various times of the year called CE5 Ambassador Trainings, where he would teach people a meditative practice that he claimed could initiate contact with extraterrestrials. And I, being a skeptic, at first thought this was, very unlikely. And I was, a real cynic initially. But after I started learning more about him and hearing about people who had been to his events and claimed to have made contact or seen ships for the first time in their life, I decided that I wanted to join one of his events, one of his retreats. So in 2012, in November actually, of 2012, I signed up for a 6-day retreat, And this took place in Borrego Springs, California. So I flew from Detroit to San Diego, rented a car, drove about 2 hours up to the Anza Borrego Desert, where this small town, Borrego Springs, is located. And over this 6-day period, we would go out in the desert at night, about 8 p.m. to about 1 in the morning, meditating. And there were 25 of us. And on the 5th evening of this 6-day event, we saw the ship materialize above us. And it was what I imagined, or I thought initially, was a craft, and it very well could have been, but it was not the kind of craft that you typically hear reported about. This thing was a elliptical shaped craft. And what I'd like to do is very quickly just share with your viewers what that looked like, because let's see here. I'm going to share.
Absolutely, Mark. I just want to remind you, too, that this is going out not only on YouTube, but our terrestrial radio stations as well. So I just want to make sure that we describe it well enough for our YouTube people to be able to, or pardon me, our radio people to be able to hear it as well.
Great. So for the people that are watching, what you're seeing is this object that materialized out of thin air above our group. And it was something that I recognized immediately because I had read Buckminster Fuller, and he was well known for something called the Geodesic Dome that has become now ubiquitous, or in festivals and in camping and so on. And this was a elliptical version of a geodesic sphere, and it's made up, as you can see, of these triangular facets that are defined by these lighter edges. And then around this egg-shaped object was a very well-defined corona or halo of that was green, and the object itself was illuminated from within by what you could only call a divine light. It was just such a pure, beautiful light. It was otherworldly. And you have to see it with your own eyes to have appreciated how beautiful this object was. But it was only visible for about 4 seconds. And I'm going to stop sharing here.
Sure.
And come back. And so after about 4 seconds of it being visible, it was moving and gradually coming down to the ground. And as it had approached the desert floor, it dematerialized. But when I saw that dematerialize, I was really left with an answer to this burning question that I had come to answer, and that was, are they real? I wanted to see something that was undeniable, that would convince me that they are indeed here. And when I saw that, it left no doubt in my mind that we are being visited by some extraterrestrial intelligence, and that it's now obvious to me at that point that they are aloof and reclusive, that the government isn't keeping this a secret from us as much as they are. And so I had lots of additional questions now that I was over that initial hump that they are real and that they're here. And so I went back that night to my hotel room after we ended our group meditation, and I couldn't fall asleep. And then I decided, after not sleeping and ruminating about all these additional questions, like where are they from and what is their relationship to us and why are they so reclusive and what's their agenda, I decided to sit up in my bed in my hotel room and do this meditation that I'd been learning through Greer. And after about 5 minutes of meditating, I started having this visceral experience in my third eye where this light blue light began swirling, and then it coalesced into a well-defined bright sphere, and then these rings of light came into it from the periphery of my vision. And after a minute of that going, that stopped, and then this sphere began morphing into a humanoid shape. And I opened my eyes after a few minutes because this humanoid glowing image was just standing in my mind's eye for about 5 or 6 minutes. I finally decided to open my eyes, and standing at the end of my bed was this light being, what was clearly a being that was non-physical, made of light or energy, or maybe a hologram, I wasn't sure. But I had prepared myself for this, so I wasn't freaked out by it. I really wanted to have this face-to-face contact experience. I was just very surprised that it worked. And so standing at the end of my bed was this being. Again, I'm going to share my screen real quick so that people can see the illustration I made of what I saw. And here it is. This is the. So what you're seeing on the left is a pencil sketch I did years ago of this being, and what you're seeing on the right was a Photoshop or a computer illustration that I personally drew years after this event. And you can see clearly in the drawing on the right, the computer drawing, that this is a non-physical being. It was scintillating, it was glowing. There, you could see through parts of its body, especially its torso, while the head was brighter and had these well-defined eyes with what I thought were pupils. And I later, more recently, in fact, in the last year, I hired a professional illustrator to illustrate a mock-up of a book I'm writing for the cover art. And this is what he drew, which really captures the essence of what I saw. And so if you look at these eyes, you'll notice that there are these C or U-shaped, what appear to be pupils. But as I gave him a greeting after appearing at the end of my bed, which then initiated him turning and approaching, he turned sideways and started walking from the end of my bed and then approached me on my left side. And I'm just sitting still. I don't want to do anything that would spook him or cause him to step back. I wanted a full-on contact experience. And as he approached me, he eventually stopped, and I was looking up into his eyes. And what really struck me once he was very close to my face is that what I perceived to be eyes were not eyes at all, but sockets of a skull. And these, what I thought were pupils, were actually the superior sutures that are in the back of the eye socket of a human skull that allow the optic nerve to go from the eyeball to the brain. And you could also see the fissures that, make up, these are these wavy lines between the platelets in the eye socket that you can see very clearly when you get close to a skull. And this is what I was seeing when I'm looking into his eyes. And along with that, I can perceive these patterns of light inside of his head that are making these patterns like something like sacred geometry. So as I'm looking into his eyes, I notice that his hand is moving, and I look down, and he's got his index finger pointed, and he's coming towards my elbow, and I realize he's going to be touching me. So I allow this. I'm prepared for this. So I feel him touching my elbow, and it's like a tingly sensation with a slight bit of physical pressure, but it's more of a tingly sensation. And then after about 2 seconds, he continues to push his finger into my elbow, and I can feel his finger penetrating my elbow because it's tingling inside my elbow. And then he's continuing to push his finger through the left torso and through my back, and his forearm is following his hand. And I'm feeling this whole penetration in my body, and where he's penetrating, I'm feeling more and more tingly sensation. And then his arm is starting to go through my right side when suddenly I feel his shoulder connecting with my left shoulder. And that was something I wasn't anticipating. I wasn't anticipating any of this, but my shoulder suddenly getting this sharp tingly sensation or intense tingly sensation caused me to want to jump up. This fight or flight response had kicked in, and it took all of my willpower to force myself to sit still. And I allowed him to continue to enter my body until he completely submerged himself inside of me. And I'm tingling all over. It was really something. And then,
so Mark, we're going to have to continue when we get back. from our break tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Science Bob and Friends. Mark Sims, Daniel Sheehan, makingcontact.com. Big conference coming up. We're going to get into that following up here on Science Bob and Friends on Spaced Out Radio. All right.
Hey, space travelers.
Let's turn that down. All right. That's a good, solid first half hour right there.
That was a great half hour. Hey, Danny, glad you made it.
Oh, we got Danny on mute here.
A whole bunch of I had to download a whole bunch of Google Chrome and other things to get on here, but I'm here.
Oh, good. Okay. Sorry, it was a lot of trouble.
No, that's right. I just couldn't figure out what was going on here.
I'll give you the one when we come back and you finish. I'll give you the 1 minute version of how I had my first experience as an older man and how it broke open all my childhood memories.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to hear it, Bob.
Oh yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Bob's got aliens.
Oh, I definitely have aliens.
That's wonderful. I love it.
Orbs in my front yard. Oh yeah. My wife miraculously healed from a stroke. All signs of the lesion in her brain gone.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? One of the great surprises and joys, frankly, of meeting people like you, Bob, who've had experiences and are willing to share them, are these healing experiences, and it's just so fascinating to me too how their life led up to this spiritual or some kind of awakening. I call it the spiritual awakening or the Kundalini awakening, all sorts of words for it. But it's more and more common with people, and it seems that people are becoming more comfortable sharing these stories, and it's so important to do this.
Well, the trigger was all the announcements in 2017 and 18. And I had heard about it coming. I'll tell you the story. I'll make it quick because this is about you guys, not about me. But I want to share.
All right. Well, I'm going to just really quickly go grab a drink.
There you go.
How much time do we have left?
We have about 3 minutes.
Okay, that's plenty of time. I'll be right back.
All right, Danny. I got you on mute because there's a lot of background noise there. But if you got to get a drink or anything, you go right ahead. That's a nice mirror right there.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, what's he watching there? Let's see if we can zoom in.
News. It's the news.
Looks like Rachel Maddow.
Of course it is. He's a Democrat. Remember, he was on Jimmy Carter's staff. I've been a fanboy since he was with Jimmy Carter.
You are a fanboy because of his hair, like I am.
Oh, his hair is gorgeous, and of course, I don't have any.
It's a good start so far.
Oh, wow. What a super start. Yeah, I like to hear how successful people got there.
Oh, yeah.
And when successful people or, scientists or whatever come on and tell, hey, look, we're having these experiences, it frees people.
Oh, yeah. Scared the daylights out of me there for a second.
He's wrecking you, Dave.
Okay, I'm back.
Beautiful.
You're good.
We got you.
Start in a second.
Have to put on my little earphones. I have the little earphones plugged in.
Yep. We're in the middle of a break. We'll start in a second. I'll finish with Mark and then go to you.
Sure.
Sounds good.
You are an unbelievably busy guy.
Busy is good.
Oh, of course it is.
This is what it looks like when it's working.
Yes, exactly. I was telling Mark how I retired from 2 jobs, started 2 companies, retired from them, went into retirement, and I'm working harder than I did before I retired.
All right. We have about 45 seconds. I want to say a big thank you to Jeremy, to Chad, Smith, Patrick, Lori, Ed, and Michael for the super chats tonight. And if you're interested in this conference, guys, go to makingcontact.com. Use promo code DaveSave100, and you'll be able to get a break on the price there. And real thankful to Making Contact for giving our audience a promo code to use, to save you guys some money. We really do appreciate everyone at Making Contact for helping us out, especially Mark and Daniel. And we're going to get going here with the second half hour of the show coming up here in about 5 seconds. So sit back, relax, and we're going to get this thing going. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is underway tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on with Science Bob and Friends. Our special guests tonight, Mr. Daniel Sheehan and Mr. Mark Sims from MakingContact.com. Science Bob, take it away.
Okay, so Mark, thank you for sharing your story. I just want to give our audience and the two of you a little look into how I got here. So I got out of high school and went to college in math and engineering and physics, and went on to graduate school. But I took a detour, worked at Sandia National Labs for 2 years before I decided I had to have a doctorate to be respected fully. So I went and got a doctorate in math, and then I entered the intelligence community, working for several of the agencies, and then wound up at the Institute for Defense Analysis, where I stayed for 27 years, retired, went and became a professor at Virginia Tech. And the job at Virginia Tech that I took on was the chief scientist of the Hume Center, and its purpose was to find engineers, scientists, and others, and introduce them to the kinds of problems that are technical, that are useful to the Department of Defense and the intelligence community. So, in other words, I left it, but I kind of worked on the periphery of it. And then I began to hear all these rumors from my old friends that the UFO stuff was hitting the fan and things were about to really happen. So I began to look into it just like you, looking at YouTube, listening to things, and I saw Richard Dolan, and naturally being from the National Security State, I read UFOs in the National Security State, volumes 1 and 2, and now I am Richard Dolan's forum administrator and moderator. So, I mean, Richard and I are now friends. So he interviewed Chris Bledsoe, and I picked up my Facebook Messenger Bledsoe and told him I was a scientist. I realized he had a bunch of scientists and government people that were friends, and I was kind of on the periphery. Could I come visit him? And so he didn't respond for 3 weeks, so I thought, okay, well, that's done. And he responded, says, yes, you can come. It was so near Christmas, we waited to January. I went over, and we got to know each other, and he told me, you know why you're here? And I says, no, why? He says, because Jim Semivan told me to let you into my house, that it was probably going to be interesting. So we sat around and talked. I learned a lot of stuff. We went outside and observed, and I saw orbs and craft and weird popping things in the trees that went up into the sky, and purple auras all over the sky. And Chris, when the purple aura disappeared, Chris went, okay, they're gone. We can go inside. And so we went inside, said goodbye. I went home, and stuff followed me home. And with apports and other things, and my wife experienced a miraculous healing. I picked up the phone. I called Chris, and I said, okay, Chris, I'm going to help you do all sorts of things, and that we're continuing that. COVID has gotten in the way, but we're going to pick it back up shortly. But now I have experiences regularly, weird ones with Dave, weird ones at home, and I've just learned to live with it. So we're going to segue for just a little bit and go from the woo to the lawyers. Danny Sheehan, if anybody needs to be introduced to Danny Sheehan, you have not been paying attention. I've known who Danny was since he was in the Carter administration, and I cast my second vote for president for Jimmy Carter. So Danny's been doing, and he has been one of the leading attorneys in the public square for decades. He's just the most impressive legal public square lawyer that I know of. I mean, there may be some equal, but I don't know of any. But in this community, he was the lawyer for the Disclosure Project, helping Stephen Greer, and now Danny is advising Lou Elizondo and helping him plow his way through interactions with the Inspector General at the Department of Defense after Elizondo has not been treated so well by his former colleagues. Danny, welcome to the show, and tell us what's going on.
Well, lots of stuff is going on. The event of the day is the filing of the report back on June 15th by the Defense Department under the auspices of the Director of National Intelligence to the Senate Intelligence Committee on the UFO or unidentified aerial phenomenon in this short 9-page report that was made public, only 6 pages of which have say anything, basically, is just the cover story, as it were, for a 400-page classified annex that has been given to the Senate Intelligence Committee. The members of the Senate Intelligence Committee have that now that they have passed the infrastructure, the 2 major infrastructure bills, and have retired for the summer. They've got the 400-page classified annex, of which they're studying now, in trying to make a determination as to what type of a follow-up the Senate Intelligence Committee might do, depending upon what's in that annex. The short 6 pages of substance that were made public at first struck everyone, including myself, as being basically like a nothing burger, because we were all sort of expecting it to say something. But when you really stop to look at it, what they were doing is they were acknowledging the Defense Department and the National Director of Intelligence were acknowledging that UFOs are real in a real official way. There have been statements that have been made by the Defense Department, have been published by the New York Times, etc. But this was an actual official report being filed with the Senate Intelligence Committee informing the United States Congress and the American people that UFOs are real. And they pointed out that they had it surrounded by a lot of caveats saying, well, we've only really looked into 144 cases. In 143 of them, we can't put in any one of these different boxes that we have here of thinking, well, maybe there's some super secret technology that our United States government has developed. No, they said they haven't been able to determine that. They aren't Chinese. They aren't Russian. They're not a flock of birds, being mistaken. They're not, swamp gas. They went through these things saying, therefore, we really don't know what they are. But the important fact was that Lou Elizondo, who had been in charge of the secret Pentagon study of the UFO phenomenon for a total of 10 years. 2 years he was the chief of security for the project, and then for 8 years he was the director of it. He went public. He quit in frustration, in protest, basically, over the fact that they were lying to him. The Defense Department was not being told about things about the UFOs. Doors were being slammed in their face. And so he quit and brought the well-known 3 of the videos that were taken through the F-18 gun cameras of the UFOs and released them to the New York Times. And very importantly, the New York Times decided to publish it. That's an event in itself. As many of you know, I was legal counsel for the New York Times when I got the call. I got the call from Jim Goodell, the general counsel for the New York Times, when they got the 47 volumes of top secret classified documents known as the Pentagon Papers. And so I was the one that got the call at the office. We're the ones that represented the New York Times to get those made public. And so I see these 400 pages of the classified annex as being analogous to the Pentagon Papers. I believe that it's almost certain that the vast majority of information that's in those 400 pages of classified documents have not been legitimately classified at all, that they don't really represent any kind of threat to the national security to make them available, and that the American people are not only entitled, but they are constitutionally entitled to have access to information pursuant to which we can make some important decisions in a democracy about how we are going to respond to this UFO phenomenon. That if in fact it's true, what they're saying is that at least the vast majority of these confirmed sightings are not some super secret technology of ours. Some may be. People may have mistaken some of the super secret stuff that we've got for a UFO. But they've said that, look, that's not the case here. And when the head of the entire investigation says that they're absolutely not Russian or Chinese, and then when I did an interview with Lou Elizondo with the three of the people from the Associated Press, and with Dan Huff from the Associated Press asked Lou Elizondo, and he said, well, wait a second, if they're not ours, they're not the Russians, they're not Chinese, what are they? Where are they from? And Lou Elizondo said to him, well, the most likely thing is, based on our investigations, that they're extraterrestrial. And now that puts us in a different place. When you have the head of the secret study of the United States Pentagon telling the Associated Press that these are not ours, they're not Russian, they're not Chinese, and the likelihood is they're extraterrestrial, the time has arrived for us to start to begin a discussion among our citizenry as to what are the implications of this? You know, if we're past arguing about whether UFOs are real, and all the authorities have now confirmed that they are real, and we're past the question about is there an extraterrestrial civilization, we now know from all the discovery of all the exoplanets and all the discussions, everybody, including the Catholic Church, the Vatican, is now on record officially as of November 11th of 2009, saying it's now perfectly evident that we are going to be discovering extraterrestrial life much sooner than had been previously anticipated. And so the time has arrived for the citizenry to undertake a very serious conversation about the philosophical and theological questions that are posed to us as a human family about the existence of such an extraterrestrial civilization. And that's what we're doing. This discussion that we're going to be convening between the 18th of August and the 22nd of August, coming up here just in another 1 week, is to have that conversation, to get past this discussion of are there such a thing as UFOs? Are they real? You know, is there such a thing as an extraterrestrial civilization? Is there such a thing? I represented Dr. John Mack back in 1994, in front of a major faculty committee at Harvard University, where Dr. Mack had published a book in which he was suggesting that extraterrestrial life actually exists, and there's actually communication taking place between some individuals and members of an extraterrestrial civilization. And they dragged him up in front of a rump committee of the faculty, chaired by Dr. Relman, who was the editor-in-chief of the New England Journal of Medicine, and confronted him. And when I, as John's lawyer, John Mack's lawyer, I said, wait a second, what is this thing? What is this panel that you guys have gathered together here anyhow? It's certainly not an AAUP panel. It's anything approved by the American Association of University Professors. And Dr. Relman said, well, you know, when Dr. Mack published the book, the dean of the medical school, who's here sitting on this tribunal with us, started receiving lots of telephone calls asking him questions that he didn't quite know how to answer. And so he decided he was going to have a conversation with Dr. Mack. And as long as he's going to be having a conversation with him, we ought to have some of the other faculty members here. So I asked him, I said, look, whatever the nature of the hearing process is either one of the two following fact questions going to be at issue in this hearing? Number one, whether or not the extraterrestrial intelligence actually exists. And secondly, whether at least some of these confirmed sightings of UFOs might possibly be a vehicle from an extraterrestrial civilization. And Dr. Roman said, well, absolutely those two questions are at issue here, and it's absolutely ridiculous to think that either one of those things is true. And he just said that. And this is Harvard University. I graduated from Harvard College. I graduated from Harvard Law School. I did my master's work at the Harvard Divinity School. And here I am sitting there saying, how can Harvard University say something as ridiculous as that? This needs to be looked into. We need to have a serious conversation among our people, including our universities, including our scientists, including our public officials, but most importantly, including our citizens, to have a conversation about what does this mean now? Now that we've gotten over whether they exist and whether there's an extraterrestrial civilization, the questions are, what does that mean to us? What are the implications if we not only realize now since Copernicus that we're not physically located in the center of the entire universe, and the whole universe circulates around us. Now we have to realize that we're not even at the apex of the pyramid of all sentient life in the universe. Now what? Now how are we going to cope with that? What is the psychological impact on us? What's the philosophical impact? What's the theological impact? What are the public policy questions that we have to ask? What kind of laws are going to have to be changed? What kind of diplomatic relations are we going to have with these people? What type of trade, if any kind, are we going to have with them? Are we going to accept whatever technology they happen to offer to us? Are we going to find ourselves in a condition where we become completely dependent upon them? For some new wave of technology, and that we become like a colony, like some tiny tribe that's been discovered on a desert island somewhere, in the 1960s, that didn't even know the rest of the world was there, and within a matter of months, their entire culture just collapses. That we need to start coming to grips with this. We can't just sit around and wait for government officials to tell us. I mean, the government officials have been working on this thing for the past 75 years, ever since Roswell. I mean, everybody with a political IQ above room temperature knows that Roswell happened. Anybody who reads books knows that it happened. And the United States government has been concealing this from us all this time. So we can't continue to rely exclusively on the government officials to tell us this, because 99% of the government officials don't know anything about it either, because they've been closed out. The fact is that 99% of the people in the military don't know about this. What kind of a constitutional government is that? To have some sort of elite, tiny 1% of the people, know about this, know what the technology is, know where these things come from, probably, and are concealing it from us for their own personal private benefit. To have power over us. The time has come to break through this thing and not keep on pleading with them to try to tell us what the answers are to this thing, but to find them out ourselves. To have these discussions among ourselves, to undertake the CE5 protocol, to reach out to try to communicate with the beings from this other civilization, to establish diplomatic relations with them, but at the same time be not totally naive. Not just say, hey, you all come here, come on and bring us all your technology, and we'll tell you everything about ourselves, and you share all your family secrets. That's not the way to do this. We have to have an intelligent conversation among ourselves about how we're going to approach this and how we're going to deal with this phenomenon. And with this extraterrestrial civilization. The time has come. Big surprise, gang. After all this time saying, I wonder when this is going to happen. I wonder if we're ever going to get in our lifetimes to a point where we actually have to answer these questions. Well, the answer is yes. And the conversation is going to be starting on the 18th of August. We're going to be bringing in people to discuss the philosophical implications, the theological implications, the psychological implications, and more importantly, the public policy questions that we need to ask and answer as citizens in a democracy as to what to do about this.
Daniel, what needs to be asked? What questions are we missing? I know as a part of the media, I could see where the media is missing a plethora of questions. But for you on this standpoint, looking into Washington, D.C., what questions are we missing?
Well, one of the most important questions is should we accept any of the offers that are made by an extraterrestrial civilization to provide some sort of extraordinary technology to us while we're still at this extremely low level of consciousness? You know, the old Sufi saying, you know, when a pickpocket meets a saint, all he sees are his pockets. You know, and now we've got a whole element in our government that if you show them some kind of a new amazing technology, they'll spend all their time trying to figure out how to make a weapon out of it, you know, so that they can lord it over the rest of the world, you know, on behalf of our corporations who happen to pay for their elections. You know, I mean, that we've got to be circumspect as a citizenry about this, that I certainly don't want to put that kind of technology into the hands of the people that are running our government right now. You know, I mean, that all we're getting is a choice between, you know, two different political parties that go through some sort of a process that most people don't even understand to pick out who the nominees are that they offer to us every 4 years. And everybody thinks that that's all they get to do. They get to pick one or the other of them. You know, and they're not serving the best interests of the people at all. We all know that, or else you wouldn't have 0.1% of all the people in the country owning 85% of all the wealth. You wouldn't have 10 million people a year starving to death on the planet. You wouldn't have people dying of diseases that we've known the cure for 100 years. You wouldn't have that if the governments were functioning responsibly and effectively and compassionately. So the bottom line is the first question that we really need to ask ourselves is, you know, do we trust our own government officials to have access to this technology? You know, should we ask the civilization for that technology? Shouldn't we be more circumspect about this and really try to ask nuanced questions about how we're going to come to grips with this civilization and what the impact is going to be on us?
Bob, your mic's on mute.
About that. Danny, tell us just a little bit before we go to break about how is Lou doing, and how are your interactions with Lou and the Pentagon going, without divulging anything you should?
Sure. No, it's fine. We're engaged. Lou and I are engaged in a very candid conversation with people in the Inspector General's office. You know, they started out trying to stovepipe the different divisions of the Inspector General's office to talk to Lou. Oh, here's the whistleblower group. Here's another group that's worried about the potential repercussions on nuclear weapons. Here's another group that's worried about the space technology that they've got. You know, and what we were saying is, look, if you're going to have this conversation in response to the complaint that Lou has filed, you know, let's get everybody together from the Inspector General's office. Let's sit down at the table together and have this conversation. And it didn't take very long for them to realize that Lou was the only one in the room that knew anything about this. They didn't know anything about this because the Inspector General's office has been iced out totally. They don't have the slightest idea about what's going on with the UFO issue. They don't know what the protocols are that are being followed by the Defense Department. They don't know who's in on this and who isn't in on this. They need to find this out. Anybody who's doing any kind of an analysis, an evaluation, or an investigation, whatever you want to call it, you need to find out what's going on. You know, you need to know what the facts are. And they do not know what the facts are. Lou knows what some of the facts are. And so what we've been doing in these first conversations with these people is trying to communicate to them the facts that we know that we think they don't know, so that they can begin to make a decision as to whether or not they're going to dare to challenge the 75-year-old protocol of don't ask. You know, don't ask about these things. If you push too hard on these things, your career is going to be over. Why is that? Why is that happening? You know, what is it that they're hiding? Who is it that's hiding it? You know, who is it that's in charge of this information anyway? If they're not inside our government, this is unconstitutional. I've filed major lawsuits against organizations like that. That's what the off-the-shelf enterprise was about. Oliver North and all those people that were smuggling weapons to the Contras in complete violation of the orders of Congress. You know, you cannot have this going on in a democracy. We need to know who's trying to control this information and for what purpose are they doing that. We need to have that information, and the Inspector General's office has to have that information. And the Justice Department needs to have that information from a constitutional point of view.
Very true.
And the Senate Intelligence Committee has to have that information. That has to be.
We're going to cut it right there for the time being, because hour number 1 of Science Bob and Friends is complete. Hour 2 with Science Bob McGwier, Daniel Sheehan, Mark Sims. We got makingcontact.com, and we're going to talk about that next on Spaced Out Radio. All right, guys, we're clear.
Okay, so when we come back, well, just take it away and start telling us about the show. Mark and Danny, however you want to do it, share the screen, show us the virtual stage and all this other, whatever you want to show us. We just want to build up a lot of interest in this to get as many people there, and thank you and the other organizers for the discount for our listeners.
Yeah, we appreciate that.
Yeah, we have the list of the speakers in the schedule, and what their major topics are going to be, and what the panel discussions are going to be about. That we can share all that with you.
Yeah, please do. I want you to free flow that information now until we kind of come to a natural stopping point, and then we'll ask some questions. I'm sure the audience is full of questions. But let's get through the major promotion of this first.
Okay, I'll grab our little list, Mark. I've got it in my briefcase. Okay.
Mark, your mic's on mute. We can't hear you. There you go.
All right. There I'm back.
There you go.
I want to just make sure that I can share my screen. Your browser has blocked your screen, I think.
What are you wanting to show, the website?
Yeah, I want to just show the website. I think I can do it now. Yeah, okay, I'm back. I see what happened.
Okay.
Yeah, StreamYard is pretty flexible, pretty point and click. Zoom has more capability, but it's not as point and click.
Okay. So when I go up to share, my options are StreamYard or entire screen. So what if I share StreamYard? What does that do?
Take it, experiment.
Okay.
We're in a break.
Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
We're using Firefox.
I'm a tinkering boffin. Go for it.
All right. Are you seeing this? The Making Contact website?
No.
Nope.
Hold on, I got to bring it up here because I have to add it. There it is.
Okay.
There you go. There it is. Okay. Wait a minute. You almost did it.
Oh.
Yeah, we had it there.
Okay.
We had it.
Let me try one more time.
And then Dave, I think, has to do
I have to add it in. Once you go to share, I have to add it in.
Oh, I see. So I'm going to select StreamYard and hit allow.
There we go.
And there it is.
Okay, and now I can select
There it is. There it is.
Great.
Look how perfect Mark's hair is right on top in that photo.
Oh, yeah.
I like Danny's hair much more than mine.
Yeah, so who doesn't? You could be like me and have to wear a hat so you don't blind your audience.
So, I'm going to stop sharing, come back here. We just had a new thing go live. We're doing a tribute to Paul Hellyer on Saturday morning, and we're allowing people to register for free. And I want to, so they can register and buy a ticket here, but there's also a separate place. I don't think we've launched that yet. The team was supposed to have that ready to go. But I think we
have the kind of extra day for some extra few bucks. You have the extra day, but I haven't seen the Hellyer thing yet.
Yeah, it's going to be. We're going to put it on social media probably tomorrow. We had little confusion about exactly which day it was going to be. And but we got that sorted out.
That's awesome. That's awesome. By the way, Lori Rosenfeld has been fantastic in communication leading up to this show.
Great. Thank you. Yeah, she's been wonderful and very helpful along the way. I owe her a big favor after this is all done. She's been working, promoting us and getting us, scheduled for podcasts and interviews, and she's been just great.
Wonderful. Wonderful. All right, guys, we have about 90 seconds. 90 seconds. Want to say a big thank you to Double Tim, Jeremy, Chad, Patrick, Lori, Ed, and Michael for the awesome super chats tonight. It's a great way to support what we do on this show each and every night on Spaced Out Radio. So thank you so much. Thank you to all of our new listeners. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. We are literally here 7 days a week starting at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern. And I'm here Monday through Friday, Lynn Wallington, Saturday and Sunday. And thank you to all the veterans out there who listen to this show on a nightly basis. We really appreciate you. We love you. And this is a good place for you to come and hang out and just enjoy some woo every single night. We would love to see you here. Okay, guys, 5 seconds. And here we go, everyone.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. We want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. We want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Wasserman. Wasserman is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. Once a month, we bring in Dr. Bob McGwier. We call him Science Bob around here, and Science Bob and Friends continues as our monthly feature. Tonight, we are focusing on Daniel Sheehan and Mark Sims, a new conference coming out called Making Contact, makingcontact.com. And if you want to check it on out, I'm going to tell you right now, little secret. Don't tell anybody, except if you're listening. Then you'll know. Use promo code DaveSave100. That's DaveSave100. They're going to give you a major deal in getting tickets for this 4 or 5 day event that is going to be happening. Science Bob, let's bring you back in.
All right. So, look, Mark, you guys take it away and tell us anything you want for at least the next half hour about the Making Contact Conference. It's so exciting.
Yeah, this is a really major event that Danny and I are co-producing. We have lined up the most impressive roster you could imagine, given the context of what's going on in the UFO UAP phenomenon and the interest that's been brought up. Danny and I have really gotten an amazing and diverse group of people, And so what I'm going to share is our actual website, makingcontact.com, and I can explain how or where people can go to get a ticket and to learn about the speakers. So this is our website, our homepage, and you can see we've got some of the most well-known luminaries from the UFO field joining us, with Whitley Strieber there on the left, and Richard Dolan, Linda Moulton Howe, Danny himself, of course, and Lou Elizondo is going to be joining us during this event. And then Ralph Lubenthal there is the journalist that broke the story back in 2017, the story that is of the Navy videos, and Lou Elizondo, who made those videos available to the press. And on the far right is Eric Weinstein, and Eric has become a good friend of Danny's, and he's a very well-known economist and a physicist. He's this amazingly smart individual who's a member of Mensa, and he has his own podcast called The Portal and a huge following. He's got a theory called geometric unity theory that he's proposing as the grand unifying theory between general relativity and quantum mechanics. And he's gotten such a large following because he's got such a compelling theory. Danny, why don't you share a little bit more about Eric and how you two know each other?
Sure. Eric Weinstein is one of the preeminent kind of public intellectuals in the country right now. I had heard about him for a long time. And he had a show, it has a show, that's called The Portal, and it's a podcast that he does. And he reached out to talk with me and invited me to come down to be on his show on April 9th, earlier this year. And we talked live on his show for 5.5 hours because he wanted to talk to me about a number of the cases that I had done in the past. And so we began to have this discussion, and I told him about how I was a co-founder of the Harvard Civil Rights Law Review back in 1968, how I had initiated the case at the Law Review that established the right of journalists to protect their confidential news sources that went all the way to the United States Supreme Court while I was still a law student, actually. And then I got recruited by the #1 corporate law firm in the country that represented NBC television news, which is with the person that I represented. And then I was there to receive the call for the Pentagon Papers. When the New York Times got access to the Pentagon Papers, they contacted me. Jim Goodell, the vice president and general counsel, called me because he knew that I had done the case that established the right of journalists to protect their confidential news sources. So I ended up then becoming one of the major lawyers for the New York Times and doing the Pentagon Papers. I was then recruited from that firm to go to Epley Bailey's office, where I served as one of at the office there when we represented James McCord, one of the Watergate burglars. He's the one that blew the whistle on Richard Nixon and the plumbers, writing a letter to Judge Sirica revealing what they were all doing there. I went from there back to Harvard Divinity School to study for my master's and PhD there in comparative social ethics after already having graduated from Harvard College and Harvard Law School, and began to do cases out of the Jesuit headquarters, one of which was the American Sanctuary Movement cases down on the Texas border, where we struck down as unconstitutional the efforts of the Reagan-Bush administration to keep people coming and from applying for political asylum from El Salvador and Guatemala, where the U.S. government was secretly financing death squads against basically anybody who read more than 2 books a year. And I got to do all of those cases. Then we did the Karen Silkwood case. That shut down and stopped the construction of all private nuclear power plants in the country. We discovered who killed Karen Silkwood and took the documents away from her. We made the movie about Silkwood with Meryl Streep and Cher, and we did all those movies. And then we did the Iran-Contra case. We basically found out that they were smuggling weapons to the Contras in violation of the Boland Amendment. We brought on the action under the Federal Criminal Racketeering Act that brought about the appointment of the special prosecutor. I was also legal counsel for the American Civil Liberties Union at Wounded Knee, representing Russell Means and Dennis Banks and the other people for ACLU. And I've done cases like that. And so Eric, it turns out, had come to some of the talks that I had done around the country. And so he asked me to be on his show. So we spent 5.5 hours talking about these cases. And when we completed that, we were planning to get together some other time in the near future. But it turns out a couple weeks later, someone called me about 11 o'clock at night and said, "Hey, we heard that you were on, Eric's show. He's on Clubhouse right now, and he's talking about UFOs, and you might want to go on there." So I popped onto the Clubhouse, and Eric said, "Oh, here's Danny Sheehan. He's done some really interesting cases in the background. I wonder if he knows anything at all about UFOs." And so he asked me to, quote, come up onto the stage in the Clubhouse. And it turns out he didn't know that I was legal counsel for the Disclosure Project back in 2001. He didn't know that I had been legal counsel in the Carter administration for a special study that was done by President Carter into UFOs and extraterrestrial life. He didn't know that I'd been the legal counsel for Dr. John Mack. He didn't know that I was Lou Elizondo's lawyer, who was the guy that ran the secret study in the Pentagon. And so Eric became, thunderstruck, I guess is the term, about the fact that I knew all about this. And I talked with him for 5.5 hours about the cases I'd done, and I'd never talked about any of these cases. So he started becoming much more interested than he had ever been before in this issue of UFOs and the potential that they may be actually extraterrestrial in origin. So he started to be puzzled by why his friends, all this Mensa crowd of all these geniuses that were mathematicians and physicists and astrophysicists and everybody else that he knew personally, why is it they had not been recruited to look into the UFO phenomenon? Why is it that the government was keeping this completely secret and the only people that were working on it were like engineers who were trying to back engineer the technology? Why is it that some of the greatest minds in our human family haven't been brought in on this and get to talk about this? So he became quite exercised about this failure on the part of the intellectual community to come to grips with this particular phenomenon. And he started to appreciate the profound questions that are raised, not only for physics, of how do these vehicles go 43,000 miles an hour right in our atmosphere when 1/10 of that speed is going to burn something to a crisp, if anything that we know how to build. And how can they come from outer space and come in at 80,000 feet down from 80,000 feet down to 50 feet above the ocean surface in less than 1 second, and then come to a complete stop, which would put 600 Gs of pressure onto the vehicle that would tear completely apart any vehicle that we've ever seen, and then they can go underwater and travel at over 200 miles an hour. How can this be going on? And the top scientists that he knows aren't involved in studying this stuff. Who's keeping the secret? What's going on here? Right. So he's agreed to come on and be on the show to talk about what the implications are for our classic dominant worldview of scientific positivism and materialism. What are the implications when there are vehicles that are obviously defying all of the basic laws of physics that we think we know about? And so he's going to be talking about this challenge to our fundamental worldview that's raised by the existence of these UFO phenomena and their potential extraterrestrial origin. We're going to bring on the other people, we're going to first, Mark and I are going to lay out on the first day, Wednesday morning of the 18th, we're going to lay out the entire schedule. We're going to talk to everybody about who the people are that are going to be coming on. Each of the 5 days, the first 4 days is going to have a separate theme. For example, the first day is going to be on the philosophical implications of the discovery of extraterrestrial life. The second day is going to be raising the theological questions about our place in the universe as a human species in light of this new discovery. The third day is going to be devoted to the psychological questions that are asked. I mean, it's pretty hard on people's psyche when they first come to realize that they're face to face with an extraterrestrial being. You know, it's got a lot of press about it. You know, what kind of effect that has on you. You know, and so that we need to talk about that. But very importantly, in the fourth day, we're going to be talking about the public policy implications. What are the kind of laws that need to be developed here about how we relate to the beings? You know, what are the diplomatic relations we're going to have with them? What are the kind of economic relationships we're going to have with them? You know, how do we apply to them our fundamental constitutional laws about human rights, etc.? You know, how do we dialogue with them about this? These are fundamental philosophical, theological, psychological, public policy questions that we have to discuss. And so that we brought in some of the major experts around the world after Mark and I lay out to the people in the first morning what the schedule is going to look like for the rest of the week. Then what we do is we start the conversation, and we have right in that first day we have Eric Weinstein comes on to talk about the implications of this. Then Whitley Strieber is going to be there talking about what the psychological impact was on him when he had this direct experience. And then Mark is going to present the information that he started to share with us here tonight about what the fundamentally theological implications are of what the kind of download that he got from this experience with this extraterrestrial being, laying out the cartography of kind of ultimate reality in which our whole human species is playing. You know, and so then we have a panel discussion among all of those people, so that I'm going to be moderating that panel, so that we can dig deeper into those opening statements and have them dialogue with each other in a very important way. We're going to go around and around in the circle, having each one of these A-types that can talk for hours about this subject. Each one of them is only going to be talk for like 2 or 3 minutes, and then let the next person talk, and then let the next person talk. And we're going to go around the circle to allow an insight to arise in a real event that's taking place in front of all the people that have come to watch this, to listen to this panel discussion. I mean, these are the kind of discussions where people will say, boy, I sure wish I were a fly on the wall listening to that conversation. Well, you are going to be a fly on the wall. You're going to be right there where they're having this conversation live to have these discussions about these profound questions. And the next day, we're going to be dealing with the theological implications. You know, we're going to have Jeff Kripal is going to be there. Jeff Kripal is not only the head of the Department of Religion at Rice University in Texas, but he's also the chairman of the board of the Esalen Institute. You know, we're going to have Dr. James Garrison. Dr. James Garrison is a PhD theologian from Harvard and from Cambridge University in England. He's also the fellow who helped negotiate with Gorbachev to start, starting Glasnost and Perestroika, to kind of get rid of the nuclear weapons, in part because the extraterrestrials are telling us over and over again, you got to get rid of the nuclear weapons. This is totally insane, what you're doing here. And so we took the steps forward to try to reach out directly through citizens diplomacy, to talk with Gorbachev when he was only the Secretary of Agriculture. And Jim Garrison is going to tell that story about the importance of citizens diplomacy. We're going to have Michael Beckwith. Michael Beckwith is the minister, the pastor at one of the largest and most progressive churches in the entire country down in Los Angeles, the Agape Church down there. He's going to come and talk about the need for our human family to ascend to a level of planetary consciousness, to get over this kind of nation-state conflicts and racial conflicts and economic conflicts. We've got to transcend this type of atavism to deal with global climate change on our planet. We're going to have, and very important, we're going to have Marshall Summers. Marshall Summers is a man who has written numerous books talking about the UFO implications, and he very seldom ever agrees to participate in any kind of conferences at all. He writes books, but he's now going to come and participate in this. These are extraordinarily important people. And of course, we're going to have Barbara Lamb coming to talk about the fact that she's actually provided psychological counseling for over 2,000 people, who have had direct contact with extraterrestrial beings, about what the psychological impact on that is, how they've evolved from starting out being very traumatized by this into actually understanding that they're taking part in this rather extraordinary experience of actually being part of history for the next 10,000 years about our relationship with these extraterrestrial people. Linda Moulton Howe is going to be involved in that conversation, and Dr. David Jacobs is going to be appearing here by a special pre-recorded presentation he's going to make. He's the only person out of 21 different speakers that we're going to have, is the only one who isn't able to be with us directly live on site because of certain medical problems he's having. Okay, but Lou Elizondo is going to be there. Richard Dolan's going to be there, as Mark pointed out. Ralph Blumenthal, who broke the story on the front page of the New York Times, is going to be here talking with all these people in a panel and making a presentation. These are the kind of things we're going to be doing. Don Schmidt is going to be here, who is recognized by everyone to be the kind of world's leading expert on Roswell. He's going to be. It's going to be one of the few references back we go back to verifying that UFOs are real and that they're extraterrestrial. Most of these conversations, as we pointed out, are going to start with those given premises that UFOs are real and that they're extraterrestrial. Now what? But we're going to have this review of probably the most famous incident, other than Betty and Barney Hill, the most famous incident of a UFO actually coming to Earth and being recovered by our federal government. So these and Mark is going to point out that this is going to be done through a new modern technology that has really just begun to be used during the pandemic. It's something a lot more than the simple Zoom. This is a very different technology. It's going to enable us to bring people in from all around the world to sit in council together, to sit and have panel discussions with each other live and in place, with thousands of people being able to be present virtually for these kind of conversations. This is a brand new technology and a brand new way of handling this most important of all issues, and we can therefore have these conversations shared by people all across the globe. All across the globe can be present for these kind of real-life conversations, and this is just the beginning of this process.
We have 2 minutes left before we got to go to break at the bottom of the hour. Science Bob and Friends continues with Mark Sims and Daniel Sheehan. And for you guys, how does the public be involved with this? Give me the 90-second answer, Mark.
Well, the new Making Contact campus makes it possible for people, no matter where they're located in the world, to come and participate in a dynamic, interactive, virtual environment that's very much like a normal conference center. But it's a campus full of different venues for different purposes. It really is stimulating and supportive of community building. And so this is our inaugural event for our inaugural campus, virtual campus. So we're doing two things at once. We're launching the campus and we're launching our inaugural event, the Making Contact Convergence. So when we're back from the break, we'll give you a demo of what it's like for people to experience this.
Sure. Mark, 45 seconds. Why is this necessary for the public at this time?
Well, this conversation needs to be supported by a place that is safe and easy for people to congregate, share stories, to learn together, and have this very important conversation that Danny has been speaking of. And a virtual place allows anybody from around the world to engage in this dialogue and contribute to it. And our goal ultimately is to develop a institute where we can create a think tank, and these topics can be synthesized into policy-making white papers that we can distribute to leaders of religious institutions, to our politicians, to the UN, and others.
Beautiful. Danny Sheehan, Mark Sims, Science Bob McGwier, and Science Bob and Friends continues on Spaced Out Radio when we return right after this break. Stay tuned. All right, guys, we're clear.
Okay, I need to reset my internet. I'll ask you back in a second.
Okay. How are you doing, Danny? Okay,
Hold
good.
on, I got Danny muted here.
Oh,
Because he was shuffling papers while you were talking, so I didn't want to.
oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
That's okay.
We're good. No, that was good. So now we can take them. We can strut our stuff on showing them what the campus is like and how the technology works, etc. So we have the old 1-2. Here's substance. Here's how it's going to look. Here's how you get in on it. This is going to be cool.
Right.
I'm excited.
All right.
Well, look at Science Bob. Look how straight he looks in his
Yeah, what the hell happened, right?
Yeah, he's got his high school picture here.
I wonder how many takes that photo took.
I'm going to be right back. How many minutes till we're back on?
We got about 4.
Okay, I'll be right back.
All right. I'll hang out. I'm that guy.
Sarah Love,
I'm that guy.
did she fall asleep again, or what?
Yeah, she did fall asleep. She also threw the blankie over the leg.
Oh,
I'm just going to put you on mute, Danny. And go like that. Jason, thank you so much for the super chat, man. Appreciate you. And Guillermo, thank you as well. Really appreciate that. All right, Danny's back.
good night, you guys. But my whole family's going to bed on me here.
Well, somebody's got to be up late.
That's right. That's right.
You know, it's me every night, man. Every night.
Every night.
I got a great picture of us somewhere from UFO Con 2019 or 2020.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, it's. I should. Hold on, I got it on my phone here. I gotta go way back here. I believe it was 20. Was it 2018 or 2019? 2018, I believe. I'm going to go this way. Where is it here? Here's one for the record books here. My hair was horrible, horrible.
Well, see, your hair was great. Look at that, see?
Look like I'm wearing a George Washington wig there.
Yeah. I know the issue well. Yeah. Right.
Mm-hmm. I think I got some others here. Back. Here's one of you, me, Steve Bassett, and Robert Peralta.
Oh, right. Yeah. Talk about hair. See, there you go. There's a head of hair.
That's beautiful. We could have donated to Steve and Robert's hair fund pretty easily.
Yeah, right.
And that's the same photo. Let's see what else I got here. I think that's the only two I got of us. Yeah, that's it. That's all I got of you and I. Oh, there's good. Science Bob. There's Science Bob. He's back.
There you go.
Bring this back here to where it's supposed to be. There we go.
Stupid internet.
Damn internet. All right, we got 30 seconds. Big thank you to Michael, Ed, Lori, Patrick, Chad, Jeremy, Tim, Bob, Guillermo, and Jason for the amazing super chats tonight. Really do appreciate the cause and your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. Thank you so much for being here for us. We're going to kick off the next half hour here right now, so sit back. We've passed the half-time show of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. Really do appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you miss portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. We continue on tonight with Science Bob and friends. Dr. Bob McGwier is here, and we are joined by Mark Sims and Daniel Sheehan of MakingContact.com. And if you want to check out this virtual conference, you got to go use promo code DaveSave100. That's DaveSave100 at MakingContact.com. Gentlemen, welcome back.
Thank you. So
great to have everybody here. Keep going, guys. Keep telling us.
Yeah, I was just getting ready to go on campus, on the virtual campus, and give people a tour of what they can expect. And this is a revolution in virtual conference events. So I'm going to bring up my screen here and hit allow here. And so here we are. It's dark. The sky normally is light, but the sky here, the time of the campus is Pacific Daylight Time, so it's nighttime here now. But where I'm standing is the welcome area of the campus. This is where people who are onboarded. You come in at this location, and the first thing you see is that welcome desk ahead of me, and there will be sitting 2 volunteers to direct people around the campus who have questions or any kind of technical issue. And then behind me are kiosks. There's one here that shows you a map of the virtual island with all the different venues, and what you're seeing here on the menu are the places you can teleport to from this menu here. So we're currently at this location, number 1, on this menu. But from here, I could also teleport into the auditorium, and we have named one of our auditoriums the Paul Hellyer Auditorium. So I'm going to teleport into the Paul Hellyer auditorium, and we're getting ready to do a show in here on Saturday morning, where we're going to be live streaming in the memorial service from the funeral home, where they're going to be doing a service in honor of Paul Hellyer. And we're making it free for people to come in here on Sunday, or rather Saturday morning, the 14th. So anyway, this is the auditorium, and I just want to really quick run up on stage and kind of give you what it looks like from a presenter standpoint, and then behind you can control the video. So, for instance, I can put up Spaced Out Radio on the screen behind me, and there's your website. If I turn around, I can look up here, and
wow, we
can actually play this if we wanted and hear ourselves give this presentation. And your live stream from your YouTube channel I could throw up here as well. So all these boards are, we had our staff in here doing some testing earlier, so this hasn't been, these signs are not finalized. We're still curating and populating the auditorium in preparation for our event, and doing some testing, because we're streaming in this memorial event. So we're now standing out front of the Paul Hellyer Auditorium. This is where we just were. And, there's a fireworks show going on over there. So the fireworks is something that we have going on periodically on a timer at night. That's pretty fun. And in fact, why don't we go to the beach and we can take a look at it a little bit more closely. So this is the actual location where the fireworks are going off. And so there's a lighthouse here, and once we get up to the top of the lighthouse, you'll get a somewhat of a bird's eye view of the entire campus. It's a beautiful scenic view from up here. So there's the campus itself, and that's featuring the two skyscrapers on the left, and then there's a soccer field where people can play virtual soccer. There's a stage down there on the beach where we can have concerts. There's a DJ booth there, and you can put up music videos, and the rest of the campus is right there over my head. And then this is just where the fireworks are going off. So now from here, I can also teleport to other locations using this go-to menu. And one place I want to take you to is the Cyberspace Lounge. Now, this is interesting. We have two Cyberspace Lounges, and I've not seen the second one. We just added it today for spillover, because we're anticipating so many people that we're going to have 1,000 avatars in here, and it's going to get really crowded. So we have a second little gathering area where people can talk. And so here's somebody who's an attendee. He's bought a ticket. This is Ray Pedersen. Let's just say hi to Ray. Hi, Ray.
Right.
Hey, hi, Ray. Are you there? Okay, he's probably just his avatar here, but he's an attendee. He's bought a ticket, and so earlier in the evening at 6 p.m. we do a daily gather and greet, and we do various discussions, experiencer discussions, and help people just get oriented and familiar with their avatars. But these tables, as you can see, have these blue borders around them. And what these borders are allow you to do is to sit at a table and have a private conversation, and nobody outside of that blue ring can hear your conversation. And you likewise aren't going to be disturbed by conversations going on next to you. You know what? His balloon just... Hey, Roy, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Hey.
I'm here. I lost you for a bit.
Oh, no problem. I'm actually on a podcast right now with Spaced Out Radio. Dave Scott and Science Bob are interviewing me and Danny Sheehan right now, so I'm giving him a quick tour of this environment. Was today your first day here?
Yes. I was there one day before, but I was having problems with my mic, and I couldn't do too much with it, and then I was delayed. I bought a new laptop and updated it, and then the screen would go blank, and I have to wait until the battery run down and then back up again. But I'm really, really pleased to be here today.
Well, Roy, your audio sounds fantastic. The bass response is incredible. And this is Science Bob, and I'm glad you made it in.
Yeah. Well, I can't tell you how pleased I am to get in today. I've been looking forward to this ever since it was announced, and I'm tickled pink.
All right. Well, I'm glad you're having a good experience, and we'll be having a lot more time together, and enjoy it. I'm going to continue doing the tour quickly around the campus. Have a great day.
Yeah,
Roy.
okay. I can eavesdrop. Can I listen to it?
Well, I have to leave the lounge here.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
But before we leave, Roy, you can go on YouTube and look for Spaced Out Radio and listen to the show.
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Here's what I'll do, Roy. If you come out here to the screen, I'm going to go put the Spaced Out Radio on that main screen, and you can watch me as I give the tour for the rest of the evening here, real quick.
Oh, that'd be great.
All right.
Mark, I'm going to send you, for Roy, I'm going to send you the direct link on Facebook Messenger, so that way you can get it to him.
Oh, okay, great. Well, he'll be able to watch it right up here. I can, so you can see. Let me copy this real quick, and then let me put it into. Well, I tell you what. Can you put it in the private chat here? The link to your Spaced Out Radio.
Sure, we can.
And then I'll grab it and drop it into the screen, and your viewers will be able to check it out. All right, so Control, copy link, and go back. Let's see, go back here, pull up, and now I can drop it right in here, and hit Enter, and let's go. Let's see here. This is the ad. We got to watch the YouTube ad or wait for it to time out here, and then I'll be able to skip the ad.
This is just incredible.
It's pretty good. I watched one of the earlier ones done with Richard Dolan had a show in this same theater some time back. It worked really well, and it appears there's quite a lot of improvements.
Yeah. So here I'll go back on the main stage, and we'll be able to take a look at ourselves here. So there I am. Let's see here.
There is a little bit of a delay. It's about a 10-second delay on everything.
Well, I've got to go back up on the stage real quick to turn it on. In fact, this is kind of a nice little test here.
So for our radio audience that's listening in right now, we are literally going through an entire virtual building right now that makingcontact.com website has
I've watched
built.
the earlier ones done with Richard Dolan had a show in this same theater some time back. It worked really well, and it appears there's quite a lot of improvements.
Yeah. So here I'll go back on the main stage, and we'll be able to take a. So now I'm teleporting to one of the skyscrapers, and in here we've got classrooms. Here it's actually mislabeled. So we're still developing this and relabeling, but this is one of our 8 classrooms in here that will actually become part of the new Paradigm Institute, and we can have lectures giving classes on various topics related to this question of establishing a citizens diplomacy initiative and an academy. And let's see, in here we've got a movie theater as well. This movie theater sits 100 people, and we will have movies after hours that will be on a playlist kind of rolling through. And this is just another place where people can gather and watch premieres of documentaries and things related to this topic. I also want to just mention that we have a video portal that will be available for our attendees to watch if they miss one of our lectures. We're recording everything, and we're making it available for 30 days to access after the event. So, and then there's this building here, and that's a door to the Cyberspace Lounge in there. And let's see, let me go to the meeting rooftop. So this is the meeting hall rooftop, and this is another area that we will be having events. And this is a little video that Whitley Strieber did for us. He's going to be presenting.
This little figure is owned by Mark Sims, a dear friend who's also been activated by a remarkable experience. We don't know its age, but it's a very valuable little figure. It cradles in its arms this man, a human being. Is this a soul carrying a man? And is the man moving through time while the soul gazes upward into a higher level of reality outside of time? If so, there's a lesson here, because in this little part, there is a triangle. And if you put this triangle in this and put it down on a soft surface, it will balance. But without the triangle, it won't balance. It will always fall. What is the triangle? Well, let's look at this in terms of an ancient law, the law of three, or the law of Trinity. It's a very old law. It's also a very new law in the sense that it is the structure of the atom. The electron is the passive force in an atom. The proton, the active force. The neutron, the balancing force. The neutron is the little triangle. In the human being, the body is the passive force. The emotions are the active force. And the mind is the force that balances the two. And you keep the flow of life coming in a healthy way. Now, what is this between the body and the soul? This little triangle is something truly huge. Let's go all the way from the atom back to the original idea of the Sphinx. The Sphinx contains three beasts: the bull, the lion, and the man. The bull is strength, It's the passive part of the Sphinx. The lion is courage. It's the active part of the Sphinx. The man is the intelligence of the Sphinx that balances the courage and the strength. When all three are balanced together, the Sphinx's wings spread and the Sphinx rises above life. That is to say, you cease to be identified with the things of life, the politics, the flow of this, how much money do I have, am I sick or well, any of that stuff. You become objective about life and you see life in a state of balance. The little triangle is that state of balance between the body moving through time and the soul gazing upward toward ascension. It's a remarkable and beautiful piece. And whether it was made 6 months ago or 10,000 years ago doesn't really matter. It's a masterpiece.
That is amazing.
Yeah, well, thank you. Well, I'm going to end the demo here, and I just want to show your viewers this remarkable piece that was featured in that video with Whitley Strieber, and this is part of a collection that I have of artifacts from central Mexico that I've collected over the last 7 years. Since my experience, I've been very fascinated with the Mesoamerican cultures, and especially those cultures that seem to have contact with extraterrestrial intelligence. And these are artifacts that are dug up from that area and have made their way into the United States to be shared. And these are becoming more and more known. And they tell a remarkable story about the interactions between the indigenous tribes from those areas thousands of years ago and seemingly an extraterrestrial race. And we'll be talking about that on the Making Contact campus as well. I'll be sharing my artifacts, and there's a network of people that have these amazing artifacts as well. And so that's something I'm looking forward to doing sometime.
Very, very cool. We only got about 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes before we go to break. Guys, I'm going to throw a little bit of a controversial question out at you here, because over the last couple of weeks, you guys have been taking a lot of heat over the cost of this event and whether or not Lou Elizondo was being paid. For some reason, I guess a lot of people feel that a person's time isn't worth money. And I'm just wondering, have you followed that controversy that kind of broke out through Twitter and Facebook?
No,
I've never even heard of it.
No, I haven't heard of it either. Is it that somebody
even now that I've heard about it, I don't care about it. So I don't know I don't even know what it's about.
I really don't care about it.
People should get a life. You know, I don't know what they're arguing
this stuff
about.
costs money to put on.
I don't even know what that's about. I mean, nobody's being paid, as far as I know, for coming. Everybody wants to be here. I mean, people have been calling us up and offering to be here. I'll be a speaker. No, we're calling the people and having just the people that all the people want to be here for free.
No, and I can see that, but I guess a lot of people, where the controversy kind of came in, was that, you know, with Lou, I mean, Lou has many targets on his back, as you know, Danny, you know, from a lot of different angles. And I think a lot of people at first like to jump to conclusions and say, well, why is he taking money from a UFO conference? You know, what is he doing getting paid by a conference when he is supposed to be bringing out this information for the betterment of the public?
Well, that's assuming whoever's saying that know what they're talking about, which they don't. So, I mean, you know, anybody can make anything up, you know, but I don't know. I could pretend I have diamonds in my teeth, you know, but I don't. So he's not being paid. Nobody's being paid.
Exactly. Just have to learn to.
They can just keep on going off into the ionosphere somewhere. But we're not worried about that. People are coming in to be here because they want to be here. They want to take advantage of this extraordinarily important forum. They've been attracted by the other people who have agreed to come and talk, and they want to be on the panels so they can have actual conversations about these important issues. People are getting tired of just talking about whether UFOs are real and whether there's an extraterrestrial civilization. They're ready to elevate to a whole new conversation, and they're eager to come. Nobody has to be paid to come here.
On that note, we're going to take a break here at the top of the hour as we have Science Bob and friends for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. Daniel Sheehan is here. Mark Sims are here. MakingContact.com is this exciting conference's website. Use promo code DaveSave100. I want to see my listeners in there. Go have some fun on this virtual event. And create your own virtual character. How cool is that? We continue after this. Well, there is a group on Twitter who believes that nobody should get paid for anything that they do. So
you can't believe how uninterested I am in that.
Yeah,
you can't even begin to imagine how uninterested I am in the things that people make up. Tell them to go somewhere else. Who cares what people make up? I've been at this for 50 years, and I've heard all kinds of, cockamamie stories, and people make stuff up, and you can't even be bothered with it. You have to just keep on focusing on what's true and what you're getting done, and do it, and not worry about all these people twittering and twattering, whatever they're doing.
Mark, I want to ask you a question about that incredible website. I'm not a gamer by any means. My eyes don't let me, but the design of that website, I don't even want to know what it costs, but that is
been a lot of work.
That is incredible.
Thank you.
I've never seen anything like that, and that just takes everything to an entirely different level.
Right. We are going to be doing podcasts live from these auditoriums. We have 3 auditoriums now, and you saw we named one Jimmy Church. We're doing a show. He's doing a show live tomorrow night from there, and we're making it available for free to his Fadernauts, and so they're going to get a chance to try it. And so our staff has been working so hard trying to get the platform ready, and we've been running it through its paces and just taxing the hell out of the thing, and it's really held up well. I'm surprised how well it's performing. And so everybody said, let's do something really bold, and they came up with having Jimmy doing our first broadcast on the Making Contact campus virtually. And we're going to we announced this through his network about 4 hours ago. 1 hour into announcing it, we had over 200 people register and download the software. And they won't even be able to get in until tomorrow. It goes live at 7 Eastern time. We're doing 7 Eastern, which is 4 p.m. Pacific time. And my staff has been doing that, and I've been doing other things, and I don't even remember when they're doing that. So I'm multitasking, juggling, and I should have had this all ready, but I wish I had been prepared to share, and I didn't want to compete with your program, so I haven't mentioned it on air just because out of respect for you, Dave. But once we run this through its paces, this is something I think you could augment. You could do your live stream on YouTube, and you could do it live from the auditorium and have your viewers pop in there, and you could all of a sudden have your guests sitting on stage with you. You could be doing the interview. They could have their avatar. You could have your avatar. You could have your screen up, this screen that we just have right now up streaming behind you. And we tested it today, and it worked really well. So that's this is pretty exciting what we're trying to do here.
Awesome. We've got about 2.5 minutes here, guys.
Oh, sorry.
So what do we want to do in the last half hour?
Science Bob?
Let's see. So I want you to tell, Mark, start off with you telling us about some of the experiences you had when you were, in the early days when you were being trained by Greer. Tell us about some of those, and in more detail maybe, or other experiences.
Yeah, well, I think it might
wait till when we come back.
Okay. When we come back, I'll share it. And Danny, I know it's getting late, and he's been up since real early. Should we let Danny go?
Yeah, Danny. Danny, just before you, if you want to check out, I'm absolutely fine with that. But I actually, Mark was.
I'm easy.
Pardon me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I had sent you an email a couple of weeks ago about coming on because I'd love to get you on the show one night in September.
Sure.
Oh yeah.
I'll do it.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want me to send you another email, or do you want?
Yeah, please,
Okay.
just so I can keep it structured here. We're
do
kind of going fast here to make sure we get to talk to all of our friends, and
Yeah.
for free, as you'll notice. Yeah. Right.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, guys, we're going to go here in about 45 seconds.
All right.
All right. Big thank you to Jason, to Guillermo, Bob, Tim, Jeremy, Chad, Patrick, Lori, Ed, and Michael for the amazing super chats. Really do appreciate you guys and your support continuously of Spaced Out Radio, and we can go from there. And big thank you, Hector, for joining in on the super chats. Love all of our regulars hanging on out tonight. We really do appreciate each and every one of you coming on in once again and hanging out with us. We have so much fun here. We really do. And you guys make it just fantastic. And we're going to get going here in about 5 seconds, so stay tuned.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on TalkStream Live, Revolution Radio, and KPNL. All of our archives are free by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club, Wasserman. Wasserman is your password. Use it wisely, space travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. For the final time tonight, we introduce Dr. Bob McGwier. We do Science Bob and Friends once a month where we get to the who, what, where, when, why, and how. Stay away from the woo. Tonight we're at makingcontact.com. We got Mark Sims. We have Daniel Sheehan, the legend himself. And we are talking about this great conference going on that's coming up in just a couple of weeks' time. Go to makingcontact.com. Use promo code DaveSave100 for your tickets. Bob, take it away.
Yeah, Mark, I was just going to invite you to tell us about any more of the experiences you've had, maybe in the early days when you were trying to learn how to do CE5, something you might want to share.
Yeah, well, I think it might be useful for people to hear and kind of see some pictures as I tell this story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, great.
Let me do that. I'm going to share my screen again, and I have this presentation that's very useful for kind of illustrating where I was when this took place and where I had this face-to-face contact experience. So this is, part of this presentation. So it was back in 2012 that I flew from Detroit to San Diego. So it's important for people to remember that I was from Detroit, from the Midwest. I now live in California. I moved here 4 years ago now. And but when I came to California in 2012, it was to attend this 6-day event in Borrego Springs, California, that Dr. Greer had organized. And I stayed at a hotel called the Palms at Indian Head Hotel. And this is a picture of the hotel. And that is the room where I had my contact experience with Tejbar. And so that's where my life changed. The night of, or the early morning rather, of November 16th, 2012. And just to give everyone kind of a perspective of this hotel location versus the other points related to this event, that first circle, here, let me go back. This circle is the Palms of Indian Head Hotel, and this was the house that Greer rented. It was an Airbnb where we would gather every day in the afternoon and have discussions before we would go out at night as a group and meditate. And this was the fieldwork site. So all these places were within a quarter of a mile to a half a mile from each other. So easily walking distance, but at night we jumped in about 8 or 9 different cars. There were 25 of us, and we would drive into the desert to the fieldwork site where we would set up our chairs. And this is the object that we saw on the 5th night of our gathering. And then this is the drawing of Tejbar, and I showed you the book cover earlier of this being that appeared at the end of my bed and merged with my body. And he called this a state of communion. So for those of you who may not be aware, there are 2 definitions for communion. There's the one that most people are aware of, which is the one from Catholicism, which means the Eucharist. But the other meaning is the sharing of feelings and emotions between 2 or more people. And that was what we were having, was this intimate experience where his body, his energy body, what he called a celestial body, because he was a celestial being, had merged and was inside of my body. And it was like there were 2 of us cohabiting my physical body. It was really quite extraordinary experience. And we stayed in this state of communion over a 13-day period before he left me. And during this 13 days, I was able to ask him any question I wished. And what I learned over this 13-day period absolutely transformed me, because not only was I learning things in answers to the questions I had about him and about who he was and where he was from, but I was also having these experiences that he was facilitating by the fact that he was in communion with me. So, for instance, I was taken out of my body. That for an atheist, which is another detail that I haven't mentioned on the show tonight, is that I was a devout atheist. I was a hardcore atheist back then. And I was absolutely convinced that there was no God and that our consciousness was a consequence of the physical body and the biochemistry taking place within the brain and in the nervous system, and that gave rise to human consciousness. And once the physical body ceased to exist or ceased to continue living, that our consciousness would come to an end, and that was the end of of the experience of being alive. But what I learned from Tejbar through these different experiences is that we are much more than our physical body. And so, for instance, he explained that when we die, that we are to be reincarnated, and we go through many, many lifetimes until we reach some level of what you might call a graduation or the ascension, and that there are these requirements associated with this ascension that are if not met, mean that you're going to be reincarnated. And so through this modus operandi of reincarnation and the mechanisms of karma, we evolve consciously into these ever higher levels of spiritual development. And it's only through mastering unconditional love, he claimed, that we ascend. And so I asked him, well, what is unconditional love by your definition, and how does one go about mastering it? And he said, that's for you to decide, or that's for you to learn on your own. So I gave a public talk on the 1-year anniversary of my meeting Tejbar in Borrego Springs, California. I went back a year later, and I invited some of my friends from Michigan, along with some of the people I had met at the Greer event a year before. And I gave my first public presentation of this experience I had and the learning of something called the Universal Consciousness Development Chart. And this was the result of this 13-day experience. This was really the magnus opus of this intense interview that I had with Tejbar. And what it ultimately shows is this progression of consciousness through these 15 stages, major stages, of which we are at an early stage, just the 5th stage of consciousness. And it also presents a model of how reality works and the many dimensions of reality, of which our 4-dimensional space-time experience is but a subset. And so here you have, in the yellow area, you have the 15 stages of conscious evolution of the individual. What begins in the animal kingdom in stage 1 in the lower left-hand corner. So if you see that picture of the fly, according to Tejbar, that's where this process begins in the animal kingdom, for individuated consciousness to begin its journey through these 15 stages. So stage 1 is the arthropods, the simplest life forms with a brain or the ganglions of neurons that are connected with synapses that make up the very simple brain that you would find in something like a fruit fly and other small arthropods. And after thousands upon thousands of lifetimes, he explained to me, this conscious being, this astral body that is the very infant insect in the stage 1 level, then advances to the 2nd stage, which is the animal families represented by amphibians, reptiles, and fish. And through thousands upon lifetimes there, the soul, the developing soul of that animal continues into stage 3, which is represented by birds and waterfowl. Stage 4 is mammals and marsupials, and stage 5 then is the human stage of consciousness. And he explained to me that the human consciousness, the human kingdom of consciousness, must be first entered through the animal kingdom. And this is how this process, according to Tejbar, it begins, and how we get to the human stage, but that we have these additional stages that we go through. And so according to Tejbar, you have these 15 stages. Now, you'll notice that I have 3 rows identified here. With at the bottom, we have what's called the physical realm. This is the realm that we exist in, with the physical experience. Above that, you have the astral realm, and then the third realm of creation that he explained to me is the celestial or etheric realm. And each one of these has a full complement of 5 dimensions of consciousness. Now, these are not to be confused with the stages themselves. For instance, he explained to me that the 5 dimensions of consciousness in the physical realm correlate directly with the 5 physical senses, but that we have these latent or dormant dimensions of consciousness, many of us, that are the higher dimensions of awareness or consciousness, like ESP, astral travel, remote viewing, telepathy. These are some of the higher dimensions of consciousness that many people of our human family have the ability to do, but most of us don't. And then on the green column are the dimensions of freedom. These are the 9 dimensions of freedom, 3 for each of these realms of creation. So we have in the physical realm the 3 spatial dimensions, but above that, as an astral being, you have the 3 physical spatial dimensions plus 3 astral dimensions of freedom. And so it's a 6-dimensional experience for a being at the astral level. And then a full complement of 9 dimensions of freedom at the celestial or etheric level. And then you have 2 dimensions of time. One is linear time and then imaginary time. And these are very different from one another. Linear time is the time that we experience in space-time in the physical realm, where time seems to go in one direction from the past into the future, where imaginary time is a dimension of time that Tejbar explained to me that we access and take for granted with our minds by, for instance, when we plan a objective or a goal that we set for ourselves in the future, we're literally imagining a goal. We're manifesting this mentally in our minds, and we set forth the plans and the milestones for achieving that goal. But this is all done in imaginary time, and is our brain that's the processor of these dimensions of time, and that we increase the likelihood of realizing the reality or manifesting that reality by focusing our attention and our energy towards that future goal. And it's, again, the imaginary timeline that does this. And likewise, we can use the imaginary timeline to retrieve memories out of what he called the Akashic record and pull them into our brain. And when we do that, we're traversing the imaginary timeline. We're going back in time and we're pulling a memory and we're recalling that memory. And if the memory is sufficiently strong enough and emotional enough, you can begin having those emotions again and reliving that experience if it's strong enough. And this is the point he was making to me, that these dimensions, even though they're not physical dimensions, are very, very much part of this extra dimensional or multi-dimensional aspect of reality. And if so that's kind of how this is organized. And if you add 15 plus 9 plus 1 plus 1, that adds up to 26. So while I was with Tejbar, one of the things he encouraged me to study, among others, was string theory, superstring theory in particular, which is a collection of 8 different string theories. And string theory, as many people know, I'm sure Science Bob is very familiar with, is an attempt by astrophysicists to develop a unified theory explaining the nature of reality from a purely mathematical perspective. And what this field of study has done in part is being able to predict some of the elementary particles found in the standard model of elementary particles, these things that we call bosons and fermions and quarks and gluons and electrons. These are all examples of the elementary particles that make up the standard model of elementary particle physics. And so string theory has made a lot of progress in approaching this. And what these 8 string theories have in common are 2 primary things. One, that when you continue to drill down and subdivide matter or energy into ever smaller units or packets of information or energy, you get to a point where you can't subdivide any further. And what you're left with is a one-dimensional string, not literally a one-dimensional string, but conceptually a one-dimensional string that has imbued in it an amplitude or a level of energy and a frequency. Think of it as a string vibrating on a violin or a guitar, and that it's a persistent vibrating string. And this manifests based on what its vibratorial rate is, and the energy imbued or amplitude of that vibration will determine what that string will manifest into in terms of one of the elementary particles. That's where these theories get their name, string theory. The other thing, though, that they all predict is many more dimensions than the 4 dimensions that we know in general relativity, namely space-time, which includes 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. So if you look in the orange column here, I've got each of the 8 string theories in superstring theory named, including bosonic open and closed. And next to that, you see the number of dimensions that each of these theories predict. Bosonic open and closed predict 26 dimensions. 5 of them below that predict 10, and then M theory predicts 11. Now, how is this? How could these different string theories come up with different numbers of predicted dimensions? And the reason, I believe, is because they're not accounting for all the dimensions. It's like looking at a multifaceted jewel from different perspectives and trying to count the number of facets. You're always going to have some hidden facets depending on what angle you're viewing the facets. So here you've got some string theories that account for all the dimensions of freedom, the 9 dimensions of freedom, and M theory, which predicts 11 dimensions, includes the 2 dimensions of time, where bosonic open and closed predict 26 dimensions, and here they are. And 15 of these dimensions are dimensions of consciousness, and these dimensions correlate directly to these dimensions I mentioned earlier, the 5 dimensions of our senses. These are inputs into our body that tell us about our immediate surroundings, how we hear and see the things around us and taste. These are all at the very root a electromagnetic phenomenon that when we press our fingers and touch something and feel the texture, that's the sense of touch. But what's really happening at a molecular level and even at a quantum level is that a force field between electrons that repel one another create a repelling force, and that is the sensation that we feel in something that's solid. It's really all empty space, but when you press against it, it's resisting your pressure, and you feel that through your fingertips. And so this is one of the dimensions of consciousness that, and this dimension of consciousness, of course, is only available if you have a physical body. So these higher dimensional beings, and Tejbar being a celestial being was at that celestial level, explained to me that he cannot have a physical experience unless he communes with a physical being my body and me. And so he was just conveying to me how incredibly gifted and lucky we are to have a physical body and being able to have a physical experience, to see the beautiful, the beauty of nature and of the sky and of the beautiful colors that are represented in the rainbow through our eyes. They do not have eyes to see. And so only by having permission, which I had given, will they take and cohabitate in the physical body. And this is part of this, awakening that we're going through. This is just the beginning, that we are reaching out ultimately to not only extra dimensionals from other star systems that are physical like ourselves, but these higher dimensional beings that are there to help educate us and explain to us what the nature of reality is. And so this is something I'm writing about in a book, Kejbar, and so this is something I hope to talk about.
Well, we'll do it again on another night, Mark. We appreciate you bringing in, making contact with Danny Sheehan, Science Bob. Thank you so much for your time. We got the Unbiased UFO Report with John Hudson coming up next. The News Wire, the Thought of the Day. Stay tuned. Now we finish off Hour 3 next. Great job.
Okay, before you go, I wanted to tell you that the underlying equations of the quantum field theories that are explained, superstrain, all those things, are the Yang-Mills equations. And Eric Weinstein is famous for his work on the Yang-Mills equations.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so you should have an exchange with him on that.
Okay.
Yeah, because he is such a nice guy. He's one of my mathematical heroes, and he is Mr. Yang-Mills theory.
Yang-Mills. How do you spell that? Can you put it in the private chat?
I'll do it right here.
Right on.
And we got a minute for Dave's going to have to kill us.
Okay. Yeah, I need your eye drops, Dave.
Oh, my eyes are so dry right now.
Yang-Mill. All right. I'm going to definitely look that up. Yeah, I can't wait to talk to him. Are you familiar with the Great Pyramid and the scaling factor of the Great Pyramid?
Yeah. I've been there several times. I was going to say, so it's this kind of amazing experience looking at these pyramids and the Sphinx, and you turn around and there's Pizza Hut and Kentucky Fried Chicken 100 feet away.
Oh, I know.
It's awful.
It is. It's really a crime.
Oh, God, it's horrible. But at least when you're looking that way toward the desert, you can't see it.
Well, I hope you guys can make it to the event. It's really going to be...
I'm already signed up.
Oh, fantastic. You don't want to miss, we have these amazing speakers, but there's a guy that you got to see his presentation, and that is Jimmy Blanchett. He is going to blow the socks off of everybody. He's going to blow you guys away. What he's recently discovered is earth-shattering. It really is. I am so excited about it because he's going to share with the world what he's discovered in just the last 2 weeks. And he's an experiencer. He's the one who developed the first contact protocol modality. That's what he's calling it, with the radios, the two-way handheld radios using frequency 144.1. Are you familiar with this?
Yes, I'm familiar with 144.1 and the radios.
Yeah, so 144.
But I don't know all the details.
Okay, well, you'll want to see that. That right there is worth the price of admission and more. I'm serious. Of all the things that I have studied on this phenomenon, I think this is the biggest discovery yet.
Awesome.
And it's going to break the doors wide open.
All right, guys, I hate to cut it there, but I got to get ready for my news section and everything. Mark, thank you so much for being a good friend of Spaced Out Radio.
Mark, this was great. Thank you for being here. It was great.
Thank you, Bob. It's wonderful meeting you. Have a great night, guys.
Science Bob, you take care, okay? Good night, Mark.
Bye-bye.
All right, we're just waiting for John to hook up here, and then we will be good to go. Hope John's not having some computer issues here. I want to say a big thank you to our good friends Michael, Ed, Lori, Patrick, Chad, Jeremy, Bob, Guillermo, Jason, and Hector for the amazing super chats tonight. Thank you so much for the support, the love, and we're going to get going here with John in about 20 seconds. What the hell, John? What the hell? Your hair in the Stetson looks beautiful tonight.
Thank you, sir.
All right, buddy. Here we go. We rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We really do appreciate earning your listening ears. We want to remind you that if you've missed most of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you, including rocking out to Bumblefoot and reading up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Instagram, Spaced Out Radio Show. It is that time once again where we bring in the man, the myth, and the Stetson-wearing legend, John Hudson, for the unbiased UFO report. And John, it's always a pleasure to have you on Spaced Out Radio, my friend. It's good to see you again.
Much. It's been quite a kick to have Danny Sheehan on tonight, huh?
Oh yeah, it was a great show, fantastic show. A little bit different than what we're normally used to with Science Bob, but it was a great show indeed with Mark and Danny, and we love having them on this show. And let's get to it, right to it, my friend. Let's get right to it here. Why not? Ross Coulthard, who was a guest on this show a few weeks ago, about 2 weeks ago, he's got an Australian UFO report out. Brand new production. I mean, I love him. Award-winning journalist. This guy is literally jumped feet first into the deep end of the UFO pool, man.
You know, it's one of the things that keeps surprising me the most about being within this whole research community is that, you know, every couple months someone new seems to show up that honestly brings incredibly important, incredibly interesting perspectives and skill sets to all of us, and it's just fantastic. I mean, we're getting so many new people involved that are bringing so much to it, and Ross is a shining example of that. It's really amazing. But yeah, so this is special is something he did for the Australian market. And a couple people have been able to see it, through VPNs and so forth, but it wasn't officially available outside of the Australian market. And I was listening to a podcast he was on some months ago, and he was talking about the fact that they were trying to get it released to the world, or at least to the U.S. market. And he encouraged all of us to start, emailing in the editor of the show to get it to happen. And boom, it happened. They live premiered it, I believe, 2 days ago. It's now up. I'll provide the link after the show. And it is, not to throw shade on any of our local TV folks that have braved the air to talk about UFOs and UAPs, but this one, in my personal opinion, puts the rest in their places. This is the exact kind of report I've been wanting to see for a long time. It's outstanding. It's just it's really good.
Well, I can tell you the way the UFO community and many in there who are absolutely ripping apart J.J. Abrams' series on UFOs. I caught parts 3 and 4. I haven't watched part 1 and 2, where parts 3 and 4 were supposed to be the real kick to the teeth of the UFO community and the experiencers in number 4. I'll tell you, I just kind of shake my head and hope that there's something better out there. What are you hearing on the street from people about this?
Well, I think initially everyone was reacting over what to do about the content. How to process the photos and the audio. Some of it had been previously debunked by some parties, not by others. Some of it appeared to be new, but very suspect. Everyone wanted to trust, but it's very difficult. We're a very discerning community. So that's how it started. Now, ever since episode 3 has been seen by people, the tone is changing. And now it's honestly, what I'm starting to get the sense of from people is that it almost feels like a bait and switch. Like somehow this was advertised as a, oh my gosh, J.J. Abrams is finally going to help us out and do something significant. And instead, the football got yanked out from under us again. And I was personally, one of the reasons I was staying a little quiet is I was really hoping that this was a setup, that episode 3 did that, because he was planning on coming back in episode 4 and really basically, doing something significant and really kind of laying down the truth. But and I haven't had a chance to see episode 4 yet. I'm a little behind, but my understanding is that is not what happened. And
no,
I'm really disappointed.
I'll tell you who I'm real disappointed in is I'm disappointed in the casting. They have some great heavyweights in there, like George Knapp, Leslie Kean, Ralph Blumenthal, Kevin Day. Then they have James Carrion, who's formerly of MUFON. This is a gentleman who, if you look at he quit MUFON when Robert Bigelow bought in, and the John Carpenter affair happened, where Carpenter was being paid $100 a case to give private information to Bigelow. All right, so Carrion did the right thing; he quit. But I mean, his holier than thou attitude on the show about credibility of witnesses, about credibility of what they are experiencing can't be true, credibility about any type of research out there, even going as far as throwing a cheap shot at the U.S. Navy pilots who came in contact with the Tic Tacs. I don't know where this is coming from. I thought John Greenwald from the Black Vault was great so far in it. And, I realize a lot of people will disagree with me on that, but I thought he was great.
He was playing a more careful line than I hoped he would, but he was playing the line fairly. I'll give him that.
Yeah, but highly disappointing. Then you have a no-name historian in season 4 or in episode 4 who comes out and says there are no UFO historians out there. And, well, let's see. If I scratch my head a little bit here, Richard Dolan is one. I would say Grant Cameron is another one. The late Stanton Friedman.
Or hey, I'll take your historian and I'll double down with a statistician, right? How about we throw Cheryl into it? Right? Come on. I mean, it's like, yeah.
It just seems like they went out of their way to literally rip apart a lot of the hard work that had been done up until this point. And I'm not interested. I'm not interested.
Yeah.
And so if Ross Coulthart, who is an award-winning journalist, he'd be like the Walter Cronkite of Australia. You know, I mean, if he is out there chasing down the world's biggest story, I think we have a new journalistic leader in this field. He may not be from the United States or Canada, but Australia is still part of the Commonwealth for us up here. And I think Ross Coulthart, in my opinion, everybody should be paying attention to what he is reporting on. He is a pro. He is going at this with strict investigative journalism. He's not holding back, and he's giving the information that he gets. So I'm excited to see this series. Thanks for bringing that up.
No, and the last thing I would add is I finally got my hands on the audiobook of his new book that he actually narrates himself. And I could not say enough nice things about it. It's a totally fun thing to listen to because he even throws in accents. It's awesome. It's really good.
The Debrief, put on by Tim McMillan, they hooked a big fish in adding Leslie Kean to the Debrief team.
Yeah, and when I started reading the article, I was expecting Leslie's kind of normal, very methodical and color within the lines sort of article. And, it started out with this great quote that I won't read all of, but it was a quote from Mitt Romney saying that, if they were, that would suggest they have technology that is in a whole different sphere than anything else we understand. And frankly, China and Russia just aren't there. And either are we, by the way, when asked if the objects could be, adversarial or ours. You have several good quotes in there from U.S. senators and congressmen basically saying point blank, these are not ours. They may be extraterrestrial, we don't know, but they're not ours, and they're not Russian, and they're not Chinese, and we better figure out who owns these, because this is serious technology way beyond what we can achieve. But what was amazing was what she did next. And that is that she then spends the bulk of the rest of the article. I'll use a very biased term, and I'll say she shish kebabs. She shish kebabs Neil deGrasse Tyson and Seth Shostak. It really, in beautiful ways. With Leslie's standard, attention to detail and eloquent writing, and she lays out several of their arguments, shows how ridiculous they are, and I just want to specifically call out the one she said about Seth, where he tries to pose an opposing question and says, "Well, why are they here now? Why didn't they visit the Romans?" As if that's a question that the fact that the scientists would ask that just horrifies me. I mean, it's like that is like the most no one can answer that. Like it's the most ridiculous question, and to pose that in this debate just shows that you're trying to make mud.
Well, sorry for cutting you off. The thing please. The thing that bugs me about this dude is the fact that Avi Loeb, who has gained so much traction over the last couple of years, to me, literally hit his first flat tire by bringing Seth Stoshak onto the Galileo project. Why would you do that? This guy has been anti-UFO, anti-anything ufology, and now you're in the biggest collegiate effort into UFO study. You're going to bring in the guy who has denied UFOs for decades? It doesn't make sense. So I'm glad Keane went after him.
Yeah, I know, I agree. And I really think what's happened there is I think Avi or someone else is basically giving Seth one last chance. One last chance to save his historical image. Because if he doesn't change soon, what's going to happen is that we're all going to look at everything that he's been saying in the last year and a half, and we're suddenly going to realize why SETI has failed. We're suddenly going to realize who is actually steering that organization and what type of people they had in those steering roles. Because let's face it, this is a guy that he had SETI, like the legitimate organization that's supposed to be actually looking for extraterrestrial signals, right? And this is his attitude. It's horrifying. I mean, it's just and he's not well researched. I mean, he says in this article that we have 700 satellites orbiting, and none of them have seen anything that humans didn't put there, and that is just flat out false. Now he may be not at fault. He doesn't have access to that kind of data, but we have several quotes from significant U.S. officials saying that there is IR data from satellite of ships coming in, or at least let me correct that, of objects coming in from orbit and breaking and entering our atmosphere, and we have that from significant people, and those quotes are out there all over the place. And for him to say that, it's just flat out wrong. And it's amazing.
I get you.
That he does it.
I get you. We only got about 2 minutes. I want to hit this next topic because, lo and behold, the man of ufology, the 2017 world champion for UFO research, Tom DeLonge, has broken his silence, and he will be breaking his silence about the To the Stars Academy with Jim Semivan on a podcast coming up, and it's coming up tomorrow. And
it's tomorrow.
I don't,
and you can submit questions.
And the funny part about it is, once again, it's a, and I hate to say this because I don't know how many subscribers this person has, but it is no one known by ufology who is conducting the interview. And of course, Tom is dodging everyone in ufology once again.
However, I will say this. I don't know if Tom really understands what he got himself into. Because
does he ever?
I don't know much about Brian Keating and his Into the Impossible podcast, but Kurt his last name is like Jamunchel. I apologize, Kurt. I'm annihilating your last name. His podcast is incredibly technical. He asks some of the most direct and shield-piercing questions of anyone in the podcast universe, and his Jeremy Corbell interview has 700,000 views.
Incredible.
I mean, this guy pulls in. He did an interview with Noam Chomsky, but they got 1.2 million views, and he's only been doing this for a year.
Thanks, bud.
It's going to be good. Everyone post questions. This is your chance. Ask Tom what you want to know.
Well, Tom, what's it like to have the three superstars on your team walk away from you? What happened? He's dodging everything. He is dodging everything, and
it's going to be interesting to see the role Jim Semivan plays tomorrow as well. Is he there? Is he there as an equal partner, or is he there to keep Tom from, stepping on landmines?
Well, we'll soon see. We'll
Yes,
get your report in just a couple of days' time. John, thank you so much for coming on the SOR Unbiased UFO Report, and we'll see you next time, buddy.
Have a good evening, sir. Thank you much.
The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR News Wire at the back end of every show, where we get to the weird, the strange, the wacky, and sometimes Captain Shirk sets us up for some weird ones. Firefighters battling the Dixie Fire have also been facing a second enemy in California, a serial arsonist who went on a spree of setting fires in July and August, and who sought to trap fire crews with his fires, according to agents from the U.S. Forest Service. This is sickening. And the guy is a former college professor Gary Maynard is his name. He's the suspect, citing their tracking of his movements and other evidence. Where Maynard went, fires started, not just once, but over and over again. The government said in a court memorandum arguing for Maynard to be denied bail. A judge agreed to that request during a brief hearing Wednesday, saying there are no conditions or combination of conditions that would provide the necessary level of safety to this community should the defendant be released. What an idiot. Absolute moron. A crew assisting with the demolition of a 115-year-old Seattle church for affordable housing, which is going to be going up. Well, they found a time capsule unknown to the people who were in the church previous. Earthwise Architectural Salvage, which was removing the stained glass windows and other valuable items from the German Evangelical Church before it was brought down in the Queen Anne neighborhood, said workers were surprised to find a metal box behind a cornerstone. The building was constructed in 1906, served as a church until the 1960s. In the 70s, the building was renovated and used as a counseling center. Aaron Blanchard, the director of operations at Earthwise, said it's rare to be surprised by a time capsule discovery, as such things are normally well documented with instructions to be opened in 100 years. This church situation is unique, usually because the time capsules are tracked and archived. Well, what's in it? What's in it? Oh, yeah, here it is. Inside, they found German-language literature, publications like the Evangelical Messenger, newspapers from Ohio with articles about the Evangelical Association, a bishop's handwritten letter detailing the founding of the church, and a booklet of the group's financial information. Here's a weird one. Animal rescuers called to a Singapore home in which a woman thought she heard a cobra hissing in her house, but it ended up being a malfunctioning electrical toothbrush. Yeah, the resident, Sheehan, sent a team into her bedroom, couldn't find the noise until they heard it. Thought it was a black spitting cobra, one of the venomous kind. Aren't all cobras venomous? Yep. They searched the home for nearly an hour before Mohammed Safari bin Mansour discovered the source of the hissing, an Oral-B electric toothbrush. Go figure. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where we get to a question that we put out on Facebook and Twitter, then read your responses on the air because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. What do you think of J.J. Abrams' new documentary series on UFOs? John, better than the Netflix series that came out, but it's still sensationalized. Chris, well, he's had a lot of practice. Evan, haven't seen it, but the previews show a bunch of clips that have already been debunked. Joe, I'm a little leery of some of the photos he used in the show. Kimberly, it's confusing. Episode 1, history, backstory. Episode 2, the Nimitz incident. Episode 3, Crazy Town. Episode 4, not fleshed out. It left me hollow. If it wasn't for the history-making events and not this made-up BS in 3, I could have watched it. Dave Altman, lame. Joshua, I haven't heard of it until now, but I already don't trust it. Catherine, I want to see it, but it really does just sound like production of already released info. So is JJ after the money or knowledge, and how does he think this will impact it? Sirkan called it amateurish. Ouch. Chad, would this be the question of the Dave? No, it's my thought of the Dave. That's why it's titled Thought of the Dave. Anyways, Melinda Leslie, not a fan. Saw all 4 parts. She called it shameful. Smells a counterintelligence counterpunch to disclosure. An old-fashioned psyops. Called it mutilating ufology. Nicole Sakic, last word, she put a meme up. J.J. Abrams holding a gun to an alien, and the tombstone says, R.I.P. ufology. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thaw rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight, including Facebook, YouTube, LGAB, Revolution Radio, Twitch, Spreaker, the Space Travelers Club, and of course, our friends on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio.
I know you're out there somewhere.
Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for Chad Smith and his crew, too. Good night.